All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue. I'm your host, Brett. I got Chris, the artist formerly known as Heavy C. I got Matt. He's still not drinking for now.
He's
I don't
still
know.
not. He's way less funny.
Yeah.
Terrible. I'm a worse person.
Yeah.
Well,
Got Tanner the Head. And we have a special guest with us. Kelly Peters is here.
thank you. What do you mean by special?
We'll get to that.
And why did your voice get so high when he said his name?
It's a feminine name, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
We're still unsure.
we'll get there
You see
after.
that,
We'll get to Kelly after our show partners. We have Elite Nutrition Omaha, EliteNutritionOmaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off. Go to the store and yell B3
Get a free shaker.
from the horse's mouth himself. We also have Rosewood Block. They make the best cutting boards in the barbecue game. Rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off on those also.
I'm waiting for mine. Anxiously. I know I was a little slow getting on it,
Yeah.
but
Ours is going to look pretty sweet, too, for the show. We got a
it
little
looked
preview
freaking,
of it.
Yeah, it looked awesome.
So whenever we get that, we'll put it out there for everyone to see. Also, like, subscribe, follow us, even if you don't like us. Set us to auto download. That's where it's really all at. And if you want to look at all of our pretty faces, we're also on YouTube. So there's that.
I'm not looking at the camera.
Yeah, he's got.
Spare
Yeah,
everything.
your good side's on there though.
Yeah, the glare is really good.
I should have shaved.
This is why I wear a hat so I don't blind everybody.
So, yeah, we've
You
all
got
known.
Chris over there with nice hair though,
Yeah.
right?
It's very
Look how
styled and
nice
profiled.
his
Look at
hair
him.
is. Jeez.
Yeah, look at him. Stop.
No bald spot, nothing.
Yeah, you gotta,
Damn, Chris.
If you want to really see it,
Damn.
you got to watch it.
Yeah.
So, most of us have known Kelly for quite a while. He's got a interesting past, bit of a troubled past.
The quilt, if you will.
Yes, yes, the quilt. But yeah, he's had an interesting past, but he's come back through a lot of adversity and whatnots to be a relatively decent human. That is a great person, but we'll have Kelly tell some of his story of.
Yeah, where would you like me to begin?
Let's start for right before it went downhill.
Okay.
And then we can kind of go from there, and then we'll go to where, kind of working out and whatnot helped you out too.
Perfect. Yeah, I was, excuse me, I used meth recreationally.
So not prescription? Not prescription? No.
It was over the counter.
for about 13 years. And
That's a long time.
That's commitment.
That's a long. Yeah.
Yeah, I really put forth the effort.
Well, and even that statistically, did you what's the lifespan? Did you outlive the lifespan?
I look at some of these people today with what's out there now, Crystal, which a lot of the stuff that I used was the old biker stuff, crank. It was a little bit different. The stuff that's out there today seems to really be taking its toll on people quickly.
It's like terrifying.
Maybe you're just tough.
Well,
We've
I'll
seen
go
him
with that.
stretch. Yeah.
But it was it's just different. It's just like anything these days with any of the drugs. The new fentanyl, everything's stronger, better. I started out the way I started out using it. I was hungover one day, and I was in the bar with some people, and a guy asked why I wasn't drinking, and I said, "Well, I'm extremely hungover. I don't think I could even choke down a beer." And he slid it over to me and said, "Try this," and it was
Like a reset.
love at first snort.
So, do you hold it against that? Do you
No.
have a dislike for that guy for getting you started on it?
No.
Because it's your choice, obviously, to do it. But okay.
Right. No, I take full responsibility for everything that has happened in my past. I mean, there was a point in time where I didn't. I mean, believe me, for a very long time, I played the victim. It was everybody else's fault but mine. But, the reality of it is, everybody today, it's looked at as a disease, right? Alcoholism, drug addiction. The way that I look at it is when you're active in it and you're using it, yeah, that's that's an addiction part. But when it's out of your system and you haven't used for a period of time and you've got some clarity back to your thinking, at that point you've made a conscious choice to go back and use again. And that's, they look at it as a two-part disease. They say it's the obsession of the mind and the allergy of the body. In other words, you know, you're constantly thinking about it, but as long as you're just thinking about it, if you choose to do something about it, you're okay. But once you ingest it, or once I ingest it as an alcoholic or an addict, then it's off to the races. Once I start, I don't stop. So, but yeah, so I used for a very long time, somehow managed to always keep a good job, have things that on the outward appearance made it look like I was successful and doing well. And then eventually towards probably the last year and a half of my using, you know, I left my family, everything that I had to my name at the age of, well, I was 36 when I was arrested. So, you know, I was in a duffel bag and I bounced from house to house, sometimes slept on the streets, wherever I could find a spot, and then eventually was arrested and went to federal prison. And that's where the change started.
I mean, it's obviously probably an easy place to get clean because you don't have a choice.
Oddly enough, I had to reset my sobriety date because I used in prison.
Oh,
So I mean,
guess
it's
you can
there.
get it in, yeah.
It's there. I didn't use meth. I smoked weed. I don't know that it was actually even weed. I think it might have been sage. But it was New Year's Eve, my first year in prison, and we had a party.
Like a pants-on party?
The
or
worst
pants off?
party ever. The chicks were horrible looking. And
Is this where Skittles was?
This is where Skittles was. Yes, you remember. But it was a little pinner. It was wrapped in Bible paper, and as soon as the flame hit it, I mean, it took one hit and it was gone. You know, and I don't even know. But when I got out, I tried to keep my original sobriety date, and somewhere along the line, in getting sober and getting into recovery, I got a conscience, and I finally admitted, you know, that I was lying to people. I wasn't really sober for as long as I said I was. And so, you know, I reset my date. I started over, and I've been sober ever since January 1st, 2008. So, but yeah, I did have to reset my sobriety date in prison.
Is everything pretty accessible in prison, or just?
Yeah. Alcohol, drugs. There's a lot of gambling that takes place. I mean, it's its own little city in there, you know. There's different groups that handle different things. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be there for a relatively short period of time compared to what everybody else was there. So I kind of kept to myself and just didn't get too involved in all the other stuff that was going on, or at least tried not to.
So you didn't have to do like butt stuff, right? You were.
Well, what do you mean have to?
It's a volunteer service in here, okay?
Yeah, no, fortunately, I steered clear of that.
Brett would be right all in first day.
Okay, that was a whole different conversation. Here was the question I posed, and I'll see what you say. If you're gonna get life in prison with no chance of parole, like not at all, do you just switch teams right away and just while you're still, because you're gonna be your biggest and your strongest when you get in. You want to prove dominance right away, or are you gonna wait it out until someone gets you?
No, you go in, and if you know you're, and it's talked about in there. There's like a, you know, zero. You know, if you're in there for 10 years, you know, you'll take a Hummer. You know, if you're in there for 10 or more, you may take and receive. If you're in there for life, it's wide open. You know.
So, but do they go right away, like as soon as possible?
Oh, there's some fellas in there that make it very apparent what they're about.
Because I figured you're biggest and strongest when you go in, so you got a chance to really.
When I went in, I was so emaciated and strung out, and I mean, I had hair to my shoulders. Yes, I had hair. I weighed 165 pounds.
So about Chris's size.
My hair was longer than his at that time.
It's felt.
Well, that's what a home gym will do for you.
Yeah. And running.
But yeah, so I was not. at the peak of my physique as I am now.
This is true Adonis right
You
now.
are pretty physiqued right now. Yeah.
So I remember you've told me a story of when you got busted, which I don't think. I mean, it's kind of crazy if you want to tell like the day you got busted.
Yeah, so I was trying to find a way out of this whole mess, and I had
Like you were trying to get sober.
Trying to get
just trying to get away from, trying to get sober, trying to get out of that lifestyle, and I was doing supposedly one last big drug deal to get some money to move on, and a guy that I'd gone to high school with had actually been wearing a wire on me, and they'd been,
motherfucker.
yeah. Well, he ended up saving my life, to be in all actuality. I didn't look at it that way when it
Right.
happened, but today, it's actually what saved me. But went to drop off a half pound of methamphetamines, and the parking lot of Joe Tess's down there, and 9:30 in the morning, and sitting in the car and hand him the stuff, and he holds up the bag, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Put that down." He's like, "Well, yeah, I just want to check it. Hold on, the money's in the trunk." And as soon as he got out of the car, here comes Suburbans, cops on bicycles, regular cop car. I mean, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, somebody's really in trouble. The next thing you know, I'm face down with a gun in the back of my head and thrown into the back of the cop car. And the officer, I remember at that time, he said, "You got anything you want to say?" And I just remember saying, I'm just glad this is over. So I knew that was the end of things.
You didn't ask him who was in trouble. What are you guys all doing here? Who's in trouble?
I'm pretty smart. I figured that one out.
The guy in the back of the head usually does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good attention getter.
Yeah.
So I was locked up in Douglas County and literally slept for 2 or 3 days. I'd been out for so long, and literally slept for 2 or 3 days other than being woken up for food and whatever. And I remember finally, after about the third day, I went up to the CO's desk and I said, "Can you tell me exactly what my charges are?" And he scanned my wristband, and I remember he kind of took a step back from the desk. His eyes got real big, and he goes, "You realize you're on $1 million bond?" I said, "Nope, but I guess I don't need to make a phone call."
I don't have a single friend with that kind of money laying around.
Nope. So yeah, that's where the beginning of the end, as you will.
And then you went from there to.
Went from there. It originally started out as state. That's why the bond was so high. And then the day that I was going to my hearing for the state, for them to read the charges and everything, my attorney comes to get me out of the bullpen, and she says, "Well, there's good news and there's bad news. Good news is the state dropped all the charges. Bad news is the feds picked it up."
That's not good news, bad news. That's just bad news, bad news.
So what makes it? So what made it go federal? Was it the amount you had?
It was the amount I had, and then the people I was involved with. I had no clue. I mean, I grew up in Millard, West Omaha. When this all went down, I was living down off of 30th and Ames, bouncing back between that house and the other drug house over by Joe Tess's. I was involved with people that I had no clue what they were involved in, what level they were in, and come to find out, it was, without getting into a whole lot of detail, they were pretty high level people, and that's why it went federal.
Okay. Because I assumed it was something with the amount or something.
That played a part of it too. Yeah, I mean, a half a pound. They realize that's not personal use.
Well, depending on the week.
I mean, what's a half a pound go for back then?
About $5,000.
That's it?
Yeah,
Now, how long would that get you high for, though?
a long time.
I mean, that's what I was wondering. Like $5,000 to get high for that long
Well,
is pretty impressive, actually.
I'll tell you this. Towards the end there, I was smoking it at that time. I was smoking so much that you never really caught that high that you originally had, that feel good high. It was just like maintenance, like maintaining. It's like I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. At that point, my body needed it. I was dependent on it.
Yeah.
So
'Cause I've read a number of like biographies and stuff of people who have done meth, and like all of them, no matter how long they did it or how long they were sober, like each one of them says that they distinctly remember like their first high.
Oh yeah.
Like, do you still?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
During the beginning of it, it's hard to explain, and definitely not glorifying it, but it was very euphoric. Everything is intensified. For me, I would obsess on things and just like gambling. I would sit at the casino for hours on end. I mean, I'd go in there in the middle of the night and come out the next day. The other thing was sexual activity within that realm was pretty off the chain, if you will.
No more safe words.
Yeah, so I won't be sending this link for this podcast to my mom, but you're in the drug world.
Yeah.
There's nothing glorious. There's nothing good about
No.
it. It starts out as fun and good, but you stick around long enough, it deteriorates. It unravels pretty quickly.
Then you went from Douglas County to,
Sandstone, Minnesota, damn near Canada.
and that's the federal.
Yeah.
And then you were there for,
I was there for a couple of years. I was held in Douglas County for, 8 months, and then was up at Sandstone for a couple of years, and then I did the rest of my time on probation, about 3 years on probation.
so you did, how many?
It was 5 years I signed for. Yeah.
Did you have an actual trial, or you were just like, "Fuck it, you got me"?
Yeah. There's
no Fed
nothing.
trials.
Yeah.
There aren't Fed trials. You plead. Everyone pleads.
Yeah, and to that point, my attorney, who's now a judge here in Douglas County, she just came to me and she said, "Look, here's the deal. It's not a question of if you're going to do time; it's how much." She goes, "That's the best thing." So they originally wanted me to sign for 15 years, and my attorney was like, "Look who he's hanging out with, who he is. Look at his past. He's always had a job, always been employed. He was basically a drug addict supporting his habit and got involved with the wrong group. So fortunately, I had a good attorney. We signed for 5, and that was it.
Yeah, I think federal conviction rate on that is
I know
like
it's through the chart,
98%.
Yeah.
Like
Or
if the feds
So basically,
press charges, like
You're done.
they got you.
so basically, the more work you make it for them, the longer they're going to make you go. So by saying I won't go to trial, I'll just take whatever.
Yes. Yep.
So then you got out on probation. You come back to Omaha.
Came back to Omaha, had to live in the federal halfway house in Council Bluffs at the time. They've shut it down. That was that place was almost worse than prison. I mean, it was terrible. But was there, and of course, you have to get a job. You have to report in. I mean, you have no freedom of choice on anything. Just to back up, before I was arrested, the last job that I had back in 2004, I was making almost $100,000 a year back then. When I got out of prison,
Holy shit!
when I got out of prison, I took a job making $7.50 an hour. They took 43% of that for back child support. They kept my child support at $1,900 a month the entire time I was locked up. When I got out, I had $83,000 child support injunction I had to pay. So I lived off of
Holy
basically
shit.
$3.50 an hour.
Well, then
And-
minus taxes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you lived off.
Oh, yeah.
You lived off ramen noodles is what
Yeah.
you lived off of.
I had a $300 car that my parents bought me, thank God. And I had a friend who had an extra room, and I slept on the floor in a room for quite some time. So,
And I mean, it's surprising with that. Like, and nothing against. I mean, it was obviously your fault, and you understand. But it's surprising, and I'm sure more people do go back to the drug game because the money's so much easier
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
making $3.50 after you're paying even at the $7.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You can see where people are like, wow, I could just go make a couple deliveries here, and
Absolutely. Where I was lucky is, like you said, a lot of the people, they didn't have the support system that I had. I still had my parents. I still had a pretty good core group of friends. I still had people that knew me.
Like
prior.
outside of.
Yes. So eventually I was able to rebuild some of those relationships and start working my way back up financially. But yeah, to your point, a lot of people, they say in prison, one of two things happens. You either become a better person or a better criminal.
I could say that because you learn from some of the best while you're in there.
Yeah.
or you learn what not to do.
Absolutely. And I knew that night that I got high in prison and went back to my cell. At that point, I was like, what are you doing? You can't even follow rules when you're locked up. You know, what's going to happen when you get back out on the streets? You know, what are you going to do when you get out of here? And at that time, that's when I kind of made the decision that I was going to make some major changes.
Did you go to school or do anything while you were in prison?
I took, got my CDL on riding. Of course, we couldn't drive. So it basically meant nothing. But then you had to have a job. I worked for the steam fitters while I was in there. This prison was built in, I think, 36. So it all had all boilers, the heat and everything. So there was always something to work on there. But yeah, you don't just get to go in and sleep your days away. You're up, you're either going to class, you're working. You know, the weekends you have free.
Because you have to pay to be in, right? Those who charge you so many cents a day, isn't it something?
That's an Iowa. I think that's an Iowa state in the state of Iowa. I know they make you pay, but no, at the feds, I got a paycheck. Usually, like, what were they paying me?
Like $1 an hour. Or
Not even that.
Yeah.
It was pennies an hour. You know, I basically made enough money to put enough money on my books myself to make phone calls to a few people. That was it. You know.
That's crazy. So you get out, you kind of rebuild your life.
Yeah, got out. You know, as far as you know, knowing that I was going to make some changes, I finally, I was never. I mean, I played sports in high school and stuff. I was never really into lifting, but in there, I connected with some guys who lifted pretty regularly. I started lifting, and when I got out, it's the one thing that I could still have control of. It's the one thing that I knew was going to be good for me. So that's the one thing that I stuck with. You know, I got out, kept working out, was doing it by myself for a very, very long time. Didn't really know what I was doing. You know, I knew a lot of the prison workouts. You know, we're going to bench, we're going to do curls.
That's all you need, right?
Right. But then, you know, Drew was the first person that I met that introduced me to Omaha Barbell.
And then downhill from there.
Yeah. For you guys or for me?
So when you're at the halfway house and did you ever have a moment where you thought about taking the easy way out, trying to make a little bit extra or anything else? Or were you set?
Funny story. There was one guy that was in my cell area, and he was an AB, Aryan Brotherhood, and he was from St. Louis, and he was in there for trafficking. He was in there for a considerable more amount of time than me. But right before I got out, he gave me the phone number to his family in St. Louis and said, if you ever need to get put back on, call them. I've talked to my dad. He'll take care of you. I kept that phone number for a while. And I remember sitting at the halfway house, and a guy who's since passed on was a friend of my father's. He came to see me there. He had been sober for 30-some years, and basically told me, he said, I am going to be your sponsor. And again, for some reason, somewhere along the line, I got a conscience and ended up talking to him and told him I had this phone number. And he said, well, let's get rid of it. Let's, tear it up, get rid of it. So yeah, there was that thought, they were going to front me whatever I wanted to get back on my feet. And thank God I didn't, had a moment of clarity and didn't act on it.
And then the guy who set you up, was he a drug addict who was just trying working, or was he
he had been selling drugs, doing drugs ever since I knew him.
So he's just trying to lower his sentence.
Yeah.
What happened with him?
So, the guys that I were involved with, like I said, were not just street level dealers. He also testified on some of them. The last I heard is that they moved him. Last I heard, they moved him to Texas. But I
witness protection or prison?
No, he didn't go to prison. He never did any time.
But there's people after him.
I would imagine. I mean, yeah, he testified. So
those groups don't go away.
No. So, like I said, as far as I'm concerned with him, that for a very long time, I wanted to do bad things to him. But eventually, like I said, over time, you look at the reality of it is, had I not been a drug addict and selling drugs, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to wear wire. I mean, I'm responsible for what happened.
Yeah. Well, and something you said earlier, like you're quit being a victim.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. I mean, until you take responsibility for your life, then you cannot move on.
Exactly. You're going to be
and that's why I was wondering what happened to him, because he wasn't taking responsibility for his life. He was taking the easy way out to save his ass.
Yep.
So I just wanted to know if he.
Yeah, I have never seen him, never crossed paths, heard anything. Even people, because there was other mutual friends that knew who he was. Nobody has seen or heard from him in years. So.
No.
So he might be dead.
He's buried. He's buried in the desert somewhere.
So you start going to the gym, and then I know you're big into the AA, and are you an NA also, and more AA, or is it? I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs on that necessarily.
Well, and it's kind of like you and I were talking the other day. So there's the thing with AA. I want to be real careful and make sure that everybody knows that I'm not here to promote AA. There's it's actually the 11th tradition where it says, that AA is based upon attraction rather than promotion. We always maintain anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. Where in today, it's that was written in 1938 when they originally wrote this book. Things have changed a little bit. There's now movies about it. There's TV shows about it. So it's a little more well accepted, but I just want to be real careful about what I say, because, if I come on here and say that I'm representing Alcoholics Anonymous or something, then just people go, well, that guy's kind of an a-hole. Is this what Alcoholics Anonymous does for you? So it's
no, and I didn't want to put it out that way. I know it's helped you a lot, and I know some other people that are involved in it that it's
absolutely.
And you're just an a-hole without it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Some things you just can't change.
Yeah. It's your other groups. Assholes Anonymous is your other.
Right. Well,
not so anonymous, though.
Not so anonymous. But I've always said, those groups, stopping drinking and using is definitely a part of it. But those groups really promote becoming a better person, living a principled lifestyle, and taking responsibility, being accountable, helping others. So it's not just stopping drinking and using. It's really about changing your lifestyle, who you are, and like you hear all the time. Do the right thing when nobody's looking.
Actually, it was RFK. He was on a podcast, and he's pretty open about his addiction and going through it. But he was like, it was that mindset of changing. Like, if you're doing something, whether anyone's watching you or not, you just do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Because for a very long time, I did not.
Well, it's kind of the same thing a lot of people use. I shouldn't say use, but use religion.
Yeah.
It's like a moral compass to an extent, whether you're...
Put your shopping cart back.
But I was just thinking that. Put your fucking shopping cart back. Just
If I get into a random fight with a person, it's going to be because of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
100%. We know.
Yeah.
Man, that's like, it'll set me over the edge.
I don't get why that is so hard, especially people who are 3 or 4 stalls down.
Just put it back.
And they just leave it there.
Yeah.
Or like when you're walking through the grocery store and you see freaking a thing of hamburger sitting in the freaking green bean aisle,
Right.
in the can, you dick, just walk it back.
Just put it
First of all, you're probably fat. You probably need to walk around the store anyway.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's the person in the scooter.
Yeah.
Battery's getting low. We're gonna leave it here.
That the scooter thing has always kind of boggled me, because it's for people who have trouble walking, right? But you have to go into the store to get the scooter, and then if you do get the scooter and you take it back to your car, you have to drive it back into the store and then walk back up to your car.
Yeah, if you really need the scooter, you have that scooter attached to your car and you're driving it in.
You came with your scooter.
Yeah, I'm
You're bringing your own custom rascal with you. Yeah, I think it's just more for fat, lazy people.
Yeah. So how often do you use them?
If they were in the parking lot in a little hut, I would use it all the time. I just get out and hop in
Weirdly
it.
enough, I have never used one.
You never
gotta-
been like drunk at a grocery store and like hopped in one?
No, I don't really hit the grocery stores drunk very often.
I
I think
used
you
to.
can do that. You got to go check it out, right? You can't just hop in one.
Sir, you smell like alcohol. Get off the rascal.
No, like
And technically, that's
I
like
should.
a DUI.
Yeah,
no, it's
technically.
not.
No.
Anything motorized is technically a DUI.
On a
Am I
street,
right on this?
right?
Private property is also a
You can do
DUI.
you can do whatever you want on
Private property
No,
is a
you
DUI.
cannot do whatever you want on private property.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you
you
drink.
can. It's fine.
So, wait, hold on. So hypothetically,
That's why if you're
drinking and driving your
hypothetically, I know
lawnmower.
a guy who may have rolled a 4-wheeler.
Yes.
What a dummy.
What an idiot!
But no, there used to be a guy who drove around like one of the. I'm from a small town. I live on a farm. There's even smaller towns around, obviously. But there's a guy who used to drive around, just get hammered, drive his lawnmower around town, and you can get picked up for that. Anything
Yeah, on
motorized.
the road, yeah.
Yes. you
Yeah,
can.
I think if you're in a small town on a lawnmower, they could probably give you a pass.
He used
Now,
to wear
private
like
property at your house and private property at the Walmart parking lot is two different private properties.
Yeah, because it's not your private property.
Okay.
Yes.
So on your own private property.
Well, just depends on if you damage any property or yourself on your own private property and some.
What if it's all my property and all my
and
stuff?
someone happens to get called there, it just depends. It's a case
Hypothetically.
by case,
Roll your own four-wheeler back over.
But if you're hammered at Walmart driving a rascal, they could get you for
could
DUI.
face charges.
I don't know.
Not
Try it.
Maybe not inside the store.
Let's say try it.
If you're in the parking lot, yes.
I don't know. I never got a DUI for it.
You've been arrested, but you've been arrested for other things.
It's true.
I have not been arrested for anything.
Really?
You have just not been caught. There's a difference.
No,
That's true.
no, I.
Everyone should have been arrested. It's just
I-
whether you
Oh
got
my
caught.
God. So many times.
I
I know.
got caught shoplifting one time when I was like in 5th grade, and then they called the police over
I
like,
need to know, what were you stealing?
like a magazine.
What
like a
magazine?
I don't remember what it was. No, it wasn't like a great one, I'm sure. It didn't have the black cover on it.
They just started that
It was a
recently.
it was a
used to be
Vanity
like
Fair.
that. When we were kids, they didn't have the black covers on them. They were
Yeah.
just chilling. No.
The Playboys like always did, like the gas
Yeah, as
station.
far as
They
I
always had the black
remember,
I
cover.
don't remember they had a black cover on them. I just remember.
Well, your dad probably just had
Yeah,
them
you
open
probably took
laying
them
out.
off when you put them in the cupboard.
I guess maybe I never did see him inside of a store.
But yeah, but the police came, but their door
In
was
Harlan?
yeah, but the door was froze shut. So my sister had to give me a ride to the police department. So I don't think I technically got arrested. They're like,
You were
here,
like
ride.
10.
They go, here, ride with your sister, but make sure you come. I'm like, what if I just left?
I'm sure in Harlem.
Like, we
they
know
could've
who you
found
are.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It was a city. County would have been a little different. My mom signed all their paychecks back in the day there. So, but yeah, so we really, where were we at?
Fighting people over shopping carts.
Oh yeah, doing the right thing. There you go.
No, that is one thing like RFK was talking about, and I respected because he was kind of the same way. He said wasn't promoting it, he was just talking about his story. So
Well, I mean, it's definitely changed my life. There's no doubt about
Yeah.
it. And I know hundreds of other people that it's changed their life.
It makes life easier to just do that. Like if you just do the right thing all the time, like you don't have to think about it. It's just like, oh yeah.
Well, like people who lie all the time, like we all know people who like tell stories, and you're like, yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, we can all probably name the same person.
Yeah, we probably can.
Hey, I'm right here, assholes.
But like when you start a lie, and that's what drug addiction is. It's what's doing drugs. It's what's selling drugs. It's what's crime. It's you're just lying. You start lying to your family, and you lie to your friends, and you lie to yourself, and you lie to everyone else. But it's impossible to keep track of all of them.
Absolutely.
It's just hard to keep track of lies. So you might as well just tell the truth and just own whatever happens. And that's when you just said like you quit being a victim and you just took ownership of it. Like I think a lot of people just need to do that. I mean, we all, whether you got caught or not, we've all done fucked up things.
Right.
You just got to own it.
Right. Well, and to the lying part, the biggest lie that any alcoholic or addict tells themselves is that they're not hurting anybody but themselves. Because alcohol ruins more families out there than anything because it affects anybody that cares about you, whether it's a spouse, a parent, whatever the case is,
A friend, a coworker, yeah, anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the biggest lie that is told as well. Oh, I'm the only one that's doing the drugs. It's only hurting me. No, it's
It's the whole like victimless crime.
Yes.
Right.
It's not a victimless crime.
Yeah.
I have a good friend of mine I went to high school with and grew up with, and he just recently has been like almost 1 year sober, but he was like him was separated from his wife for a while, and it kind of ruined. He lost everything. He had like a business he was doing, and I don't know how you rate that or what he had some, his dad had passed away, and I think that was kind of a little bit of a trigger for him. Mm-hmm. He was always a pretty good drinker. Like he was pretty good at it.
He wasn't an amateur.
Yeah, but it kind of got a hand in. So I mean, based on things he's told me, I assume he's in AA and he's doing really well with it. But he'll he sent me. We had talked for a while, just busy, and he lives a couple hours away, and he just sent me like a random message, said he's been listening to the podcast and has a good time, and that he's been sober for however long, and he's like, I think we all need to reach out and talk to each other more and stuff like that. And so, like you said, I think it brings that realization of things you're missing in life. And he's back with his family, and I mean, he's doing better. But not every spouse is going to give their significant other another opportunity at that.
Well, the other thing with alcoholism and addiction is it's very lonely. So, because you tend to, people either one of two things: you either just recoil yourself and don't want to be around anybody, or people will eventually say, "I'm done fucking around with you," And so it becomes very lonely, a lot of isolation. So that's a big part of it too. And this kind of jumping back to talking about the gym, why it's such a big part of why I stay with it is the friendships, the people that I've met. There's nothing worse than just that feeling of loneliness, not belonging. And this has given me something that's, I get to compete. I get to meet great people. I mean, I'm probably the oldest guy out of, all of us that have ever trained together, but I know the least amount about it. So, I'm very humble and willing to listen and
you
learn.
fucking try hard.
I do try hard. I don't always perform well.
The effort's there.
But the effort is there, but it really is. It's the camaraderie, the gym, this gym in particular. Because when I was it used to be 24-hour fitness. It's now Genesis or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I worked out alone. I didn't talk to anybody. Drew just happened to.
Drew Heckman, by the way,
Yes, Dr.
Drew.
Dude, he is just a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is. He's amazing. We have a lot of good conversations over the years, but he was the guy he struck up a conversation with me there and said, "Hey, you should come check out Omaha Barbell," and here we are.
It is different here. I will say,
But I get it was kind of like, CrossFit's, the big promotion was always the community, and I don't think, not everyone here trains together. Not everyone here even knows each other, but there is a community of, because everybody, like I always tell people they want to come in and they might be intimidated. I said, everybody's here doing the same thing. Nobody gives a shit. Like people think a gym like this, we try to be a gym for everybody. Obviously there's a good amount of powerlifters, but we try to have, anybody who wants to train for anything, we try to have everything here, strongman, bodybuilding, whatever you want to do. And you would think it would be people judging,
Yeah, it's not.
but nobody, I always tell people, I said, nobody really gives a fuck. As long as you're doing something, nobody gives a fuck. As long as you're doing something and putting in some effort, that's all anybody asks.
And not being a dick.
Yeah, and people are going to hang out and bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I hate people like, oh, man, people on their phones at the gym or people always talking. Dude, that's part of it. Now, I always go back to where, that thing that Ed said. He's like, some of the best memories I have in life are hanging out at the gym talking to my friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's there's that community that has developed here and the kind of...
Yep.
well, you can always tell, when we've been talking too much and then all of a sudden we're in fast forward, getting through the rest of our workout. I've been here for an hour and a half. I've gotten 10 minutes of work done. So.
I got it. If I want to even pretend to work out here, I have to start as soon as I get here.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's fucking lights out and I'm like, well, I'm done.
It's a social club.
It is.
It is. If you get in the right gym, it's a social club.
Yeah.
Well, and like my wife's come here and she's she's lifted a lot, but she's brought some friends here that haven't, and everyone loves it.
Yeah.
It's like no one feels intimidated, even though there's people doing freaking giant weights. It's like everyone's just chill.
Yeah, and I mean, with your wife, driving the truck in the family, I'm sure that her intimidation factor is probably a lot lower.
My
never
wife
get
driving
old.
the truck and poop story has outpaced poop stories on this. Yeah, every fucking time.
Yeah.
And
Well, I wanna make
by the way, I've been driving it more often.
You said that last week.
I know.
You didn't drive it today.
Yeah, he said that last week, but I've only seen him drive the Explorer.
Yeah.
We didn't actually
Well, I
see him
know-
drive the truck.
She
in
lets
the
him drive it
picture.
to with the mailbox.
We
She's like,
drive
hey, go
to-
get the mail together.
No, like when we drive together,
When she
I'll
lets-
be
when she
like,
lets
hey,
me
you
run
want to take the
errands."
truck? I'll drive.
When she lets me run errands for her, I get to drive the pickup.
I got to move it in the driveway.
She let me back it out and start it.
Yeah, I warmed it up for her to get the frost off.
And don't you move that fucking seat.
I sent a picture to them when I drove it. I was like, hey, look, I'm driving the truck.
We didn't actually see
Right,
it
you were
in the
technically
truck.
just standing on the driver's side.
Yeah.
What's the rule
But I
around
did.
here? If it isn't on video, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's true.
Get a dash cam.
You probably don't want to do that. She's over there navigating for you. Have you had any close calls?
As far as using again,
Yeah.
no, and that's it's funny that you bring that up, because I was just talking to one of my sponsees the other day, and I'm coming up on 16 years sober,
That's awesome.
and thank you, and we were talking, and he's just a couple years into this, and he's like, "Do you ever have the thought anymore?" And I said, I don't, because I when I was first getting sober, I always used to say, if this certain thing happened, I'm
you're done.
drinking again, or,
Yeah.
or if this and eventually over these years, every one of those things has happened: death, loss of jobs, loss of money, loss of
I
a
know. I've been
marriage.
around.
I mean, you know the story. There's been some pretty rough patches, but there was never a point where I was like, what's going to make this better? Hitting that pipe again, going and jugging it. I was never really a beer drinker. I always drank scotch. Go getting a big bottle of scotch and just getting completely shit faced. That's going to make this better. So, it comes with time. Like I said, when you're early in sobriety and you still have the drugs and alcohol in your system, there's still that allergy effect to your body. But over time, when you get some clarity of thinking and you're able to process and really think about what's going on, and you have other people support group there that you can talk to, you realize, or at least I was able to realize, that look, drinking or drugging is not going to fix this. It's only going to make it worse. So,
And I don't know what the theory or mindset of it is, but could you have a drink, do you think? And I'm not saying like, hey, we'll make a drink. Do you think you'd ever
that's your point.
Double dare.
But no, would you ever, hey,
Come on, just the tip.
I just stopped over and just had one beer and and I get like your addictions, but I think all of us are addicts of something
Right.
to an extent. But do you think you could ever?
For me, no, because I know the type of drinker that I was, and I may get away with it the first, second, third time that I do it, but eventually I will convince myself that
That
I've
fine.
got this under
Yeah.
control. I can
Yeah.
handle this. So I don't even chance it. I mean, that's just for me. I remember pretty vividly, as you said, what it used to be like and what it ended up being, and I'm just not willing to take that chance.
I try to anybody I've had clients in the past who've had whatever, and I try not to treat anybody any different. And I have a client now that's been sober for years, and we started talking about Fireball, and they were like, "Wow, that really wasn't around when I was."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, do I feel bad having this conversation with a person? Because I'm talking about no, it's pretty fucking good, man. I'm talking this thing up over here. And I'm like,
chiller in the back.
and they know that, but I was like, God, am I just being like an asshole right now? But they've been sober for
I would say you
19
probably
years,
wouldn't
quite a
want to
ways.
have that conversation with somebody who's a month sober.
Yeah. And I kind of geared it back, but I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm promoting this. But like I said, this person's been sober for I think almost 19 years or something like that. They have. But I was just like, oh man, I'm really fucking hyping this thing up for him right now.
Well, here's the thing: you're going to get if you get sober in everyday life, alcohol is going to be in front of you. on TV, in grocery stores, gas, everywhere you
Every
go.
restaurant you go to.
Every event.
So to think that you're going to isolate yourself from it and you're just going to stay in this little bubble and that's how you're going to stay sober, I got bad news for you. You can't.
But I think that's the ownership part.
Exactly.
Because if you haven't taken ownership for it yet, then it's still everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
Everyone else has to walk on eggshells around you.
Yeah, and that's definitely not the case. I mean, my own family was that way for a very long time. And I'm like, look, drink, do whatever you want to do. It's okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, somebody who's 30 days sober, a couple months, you may not want to.
So, like when you're in the halfway house, was that a time where you were like, oh fuck?
Well, yeah, because I was walking. I had to get up. I had to be to work at 7, so I had to get up like at 5:30, wait to get into a shower. Then I had to walk to work. You know, you can't have a car there. You can't drive. Walk back home, and I'm getting paychecks, you know, for the week that are like $120, you know, and then you got to pay rent in the freaking halfway house. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, I'm going nowhere here. But like I said, luckily I still had the support of family and some other good friends, and eventually, you know, got out of there. And it was steps, you know. So that halfway house was horrible. The meals that they served us there was whatever was left over from the hospital that day. That was our food. And then they would throw out a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter. So
Like guys wrestle for it.
yeah, well, it was
Two men enter.
if the plates were gone by the time you got back from work or whatever, you had no other option but to eat the peanut butter sandwiches. You know, luckily I was only there for about 45 days, but you know, I was in 2 fights during this whole thing. One was in prison, one was in the federal halfway house. I mean, you've got a bunch of guys that are crammed in.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was 10 guys in my room.
No, how's a halfway
At the
house?
halfway house?
Yes.
Jesus.
Like, how's that work now? Is there like that's like a security officer? Is there someone there that's monitoring you guys? Is there?
There's a unlicensed, untrained, however you want to phrase it, just an hourly wage person sitting at the front desk. You have to sign in and sign out. The women were up on the top, the men were down on the bottom floor. Other than that, no. There was the counselors and stuff weren't even on site. They would come there to meet with you or whatever. But there was just an hourly paid person that sat at the front desk there and checked you in, checked you out, and can't bring
Crazy.
in.
So was the fights over?
What's that?
What were the fights over?
The one in prison was over a card game. And
Did you win both fights?
I did.
Good for you.
2-0.
2-0. Yeah.
Undefeated.
And retired.
2-0 in prison wars.
And then the one in the one
That was peanut butter, wasn't it?
no, it was this guy he had no sense of personal space.
Ugh.
And
Oh, he tried to do prison stuff with you, didn't he?
He'd been cool with that. Yeah.
Or he didn't want
tried.
to.
But you know, just like, you know, stepping on your bunk when he's getting up in his bed and throwing his bag on your bed, or just leaving shit. And like I said, there's 10 guys in this room. There's bunk beds that are 3 high, you know, and there's no room. You know, I've got this little space here.
It's
Stay
mine.
the fuck out of it.
Yeah, it's mine.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was it.
And you won that one too?
That was a very short one. he was not. You know, I kind of felt bad afterward. He wasn't much of a fighter, but he was very annoying.
But now can fighting in there get you sent back into prison?
Yes.
Yeah, but the hourly employee was just
Yeah,
not paying attention. So.
They sat upstairs, so it was like I said. You go downstairs, it was the men. Upstairs was the women, and there's a desk right as you know. You come up like 4 or 5 stairs, and there's the desk right there. But it was terrible. The downstairs where the men were, our showers would, and it was just a big room with showers, you know, shower nozzles. It would back up with feces and piss, and I mean, almost daily. You know, so there's guys in there without shower shoes on. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're fucking nasty.
Yeah, grab my poop shoes.
Yeah.
Doesn't everyone take those with them when they leave prison? They take the shower
It's a
shoes
hot
with them?
item.
Best item I left prison with. You know, on the rehab addiction stuff, and I've never understood this. We watch, you know, different shows, and they'll have, you know, people in rehab, and they'll go there to quit drinking, but then they just like fucking chain smoke. So I guess how was that? I don't know. And if maybe there's not an answer for it. I don't know. But I get the lesser of two evils, maybe. But I'm also like, I mean, smoking ain't helping you either.
So for me, I quit everything. When I was arrested on, October 6th of 2006, I quit smoking, I quit drinking, I quit drugging, quit sex for a long time. I was locked up. But yeah, a lot of people, today in this day and age, there's not really that many people. Everybody's vaping, not that many people smoking, but yeah, a lot of people are heavy.
I was just surprised that was like led in to a rehab facility. You know what I mean? They're like, well,
if you've ever been to like an AA meeting, like, well,
That's all it is.
They used to.
25 years ago, when I 25 years ago, it's like a fucking like you got into a bar. It was a fucking cloud.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Because I mean, I would rather have a casual drinker than a casual smoker, because the smoking is like super annoying to be around.
yeah. Well, and like I said, not many people are smoking.
Well, now it smells like strawberry shortcake.
Right,
so.
right.
True.
That's what you vape.
No, I've never had a douche flute.
There's a high
Where's
school
the drums?
Same.
Or I had a kid. His dad caught him vaping. He was in the store, and his dad said, "You are sucking an Optimus Prime's dick right now," and knocked it out of his hand, and then like punished the shit out of him for it. So that's
It's funny. There used to be this high school kid that came in here, and he would, when I don't think Juuls are around anymore. I don't think, but
I don't.
he was Juuling. I said, dude, that's basically like sucking dicks. He's like, no, it's not. I was like, okay, dude, just keep Juuling away. I was like,
I do not fucking get vape.
But the Optimus Prime dick, that's good.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that one. That's
Optimus
like,
Prime dick.
That's a good one to hold on to. It's like that.
Good one to
I got
hold
sent
on
it. I got sent that one the other day with that. I don't even know. They call her Gorlock the Destroyer, but that big fat chick
yeah.
that's on the.
Oh, she's fucking disgusting.
It does.
God, she's so great.
When the girl
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, the Optimus Prime one came around. I am Optimus Prime.
Or the Jabba the Hutt one when they did. Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Gorlock the Destroyer.
Yeah, then they had like somebody did like, remember the old Celebrity Deathmatch show?
Yeah.
It was Gorlock the Destroyer versus like they had some other big girl. Put him against. They need to bring Celebrity Deathmatch back.
Those were great.
The old claymation
Yeah.
MTV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Have you done competitions since powerlifting? Yep.
My first competition I did was 2017. It was like I'd only been here a year, and it was a push pull at even before
Was it Prairie Life?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
the
that's
Fairy
cool.
Life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was the first one I ever did, and then I did that meet at South Omaha. I don't know if that was.
Yeah, that's when Jason Belt blew his knee out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That was my second.
That was
meet.
gross.
I just
And
stood
I
there,
did
no reaction.
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to squat next, and that's my second meet. This is my first full meet. I'm getting ready to squat next, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, oh my God, is this going to happen to me?
Oh yeah, that there is probably nothing worse than following the person who just hurt themselves.
My favorite from that whole thing was how fast our good friend old Carl Fredrickson moved out of that judge's chair when he went down. I mean, Carl's not a spring chicken, but he fucking flew out of that chair.
He was like, nope.
His
Did you hit that squat after that?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
He's a performer. Yeah.
man. There's
80.
I was just glad my bar didn't get damaged when he went down. I asked him.
But you can thank Drew for catching that entire side himself.
Plus Myron. This kid that was spotting probably weighed, I don't know, he probably weighs 300 pounds. Drew is holding like half of, what was it, 6 something or 700?
6 something. Yeah.
Drew's holding the weight, Drew Heckman, and Myron's trying to pull himself up on the weight that Drew's holding on to.
so he's holding. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. That kid just ate shit when he went down.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been kind of riddled with injuries over the years. So
That's a shocker.
yeah, I tore a hamstring stretching once.
Racing your kids, he popped a calf.
Both of them. Tore both my calf muscles running in here. My two boys were with me, and I had convinced myself that I could outrun them. So we lined up on the turf, and 2 to 3 steps into it.
Pop.
He probably just knew he was going to get beat, so he pulled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what my one said. He goes, my one son goes, well, you hit me right in the head. And I said, well, that's because you were behind me. So obviously I hit you when I was
Yeah, I got those 3 steps. I was fucking smoking.
quick.
I raced our like teenage boys. This was a few years ago at Nebraska City at the Applejack thing, where we were in the apple fields, and I fucking hit a hole, and I am down, like it's
Twist your
slow
ankle?
motion. No, like I didn't
Just
hurt
Superman'd
anything.
out.
Yeah, just out, and like, but in the video, I'm looking back at I was ahead.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I was winning until I went down like a fucking ton of bricks. The video's still out there.
Videos that are out there. Speaking of Jason Bell, because then he tore his bicep here
Yeah,
deadlifting. I never gave him the down command because he hadn't locked it out yet.
exactly.
In that video, I have a girl. I just did her first meet, and we were talking about videos. And I was like, "Hey, you ever seen the video of the guy who you can see his bicep roll up in the deadlift video?" She's like, "Yeah, oh my god!" I go, "That's here. It's like right over there. It happened." That video has circled the internet a few times.
I was spotting him. So I was there. I squatted right after he did his quad, and I was spotting him when he.
So it's your fault. Like you're the bad.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, somebody's like, "Why do you give him the down command?" I was like,
He didn't lock it
"I
out.
hadn't locked it out."
He could have dropped it whenever he wanted.
You know what though? And he locked it out, but then he dropped it on the way down. But we still gave him the lift. I still remember that. It should have been a red light.
Yeah.
Didn't you give him a red light, and the other 2 gave him whites?
I can't remember. I might have.
You are such a dick. Fuck.
Yeah. That is just such a great video. Like it always makes like the best
You
compilations.
probably did red light him. You you kind of like
I might have.
If I remember correctly, there was even a few comments that people were like, "What is the head judge doing? Why isn't he giving him the down single?"
Because I mean he can put it down whenever he wants.
Yeah, I don't run
Like
his
your
life.
your job's to keep the meat going. Yeah.
My favorite is still when our friend Justin Groffs was judging, and that lady gets the lift, and he gives her a red light, and I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I forgot to give her one earlier, so I gave her one now." He's over there, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
we were just having this conversation. Like me and Nicole were watching a football game. Like, wasn't that a penalty? I'm like, don't worry, it was, but.
That's why they keep the notepads.
I was
So
like,
they know who's-
there'll be a
even it out.
holding. There'll be a holding on the next play to make up for it, and no shit. Like, yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice play.
Or you'll know it's like fourth quarter. All of a sudden, the other teams they're getting him caught up.
Right.
yeah.
We got to really even this bitch out over here. What else we got here? Oh, you're at the gym. You're living a good life.
Well, what are your numbers?
Not what we're talking about.
499.6.
We got to tell that story.
Yeah, go for it. I wasn't at that meet actually. This was in South Dakota, right?
No, Dubuque, Quad Cities, and I hadn't pulled 500 yet.
Okay.
And went through the meet. Everything. I had my best squat. I think my squat was 469. My bench was like 340 something. And so we get to deadlift, and I was having hip problems. I was tired, and Groffs was picking my numbers. And he goes, "What do you think?" And I said, "I don't care what it is. Just make it over 500. I don't care if it's 501, whatever. It's got to be over 500." All right. So I get up there, I lift, and I pull it, I put it down, 3 white lights. I'm like, yes. 499 and a half.
Oh fuck, dude.
And so Kelly asked me to video it, and I'm like, all right, I got you. And so I'm videoing him like this, and I go to pan up to the screen, and I see the number, and I'm like, nope.
So that was pretty.
Oh,
sweet,
dude, that would piss me off.
pretty sweet deal. But I
Oh,
eventually did pull
yeah,
5.
It
over
still
5,
pissed me off.
Yeah.
Like 4 years later.
Well, I'm an old man. You got to remember. I'm gonna be
Time moves
Because
different.
didn't you just pull the 5?
in South Dakota.
Oh, okay. Was that when Matt got hurt?
That's when I blew my shoulder out.
That's right. Because you were throwing a rock into a dumpster and you blew your
Drywall.
shoulder out. Sorry, drywall.
Have you ever hurt yourself actually lifting or just like
Not
doing
really,
dumb
no.
shit? Okay. Tied my shoes once, tore my quad. But
Right.
Was that the same one that you got hurt at?
No, he wasn't up at that one. You were somewhere, and I was sending you video, and you were picking my numbers.
Oh, that's right. Because you did simple strength for that.
Yep.
Yeah, that is right. Getting strong.
Yep.
Well, it's probably as strong as I'm going to be at this point. I mean,
Well, and you did a meet just like what, last July? You did May and July, right?
May and July, which is a terrible idea.
I think I said that to you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
again,
We've seen his life choices.
I said, I'm trying to be better. I don't always accomplish it, but I am trying.
And then
Yeah,
you-
that was horrible.
That would be just.
But the May,
26 weeks. of
May
training.
went pretty good for you though, didn't it?
May was, and that's the only. I was like, I had no pain. I didn't get hurt the entire time.
Let's just
Everything.
beat the brakes off this thing, you know.
I was like, well,
Well, that is kind of how we all work. Like, oh, like my shoulder's been hurting. Got a cortisone shot. Fuck, I'm doing everything
go.
now.
Let's get after it.
It's that old saying, "Wide open till you see God, then break."
that's kind of the way.
That's
it
how
went.
we all roll. Like, oh, I feel good today. Let's see how fucking far I can push it.
Yeah.
You know, before we started that you feel like the poop stories are usually the highlight.
Yeah.
So I'm sure being in prison, you have to have at least a decent between being somewhat homeless and living in prison.
That was horrible. Taking the first time we did shitting in prison, and it's just toilets, lined up.
Oh, you
there.
didn't have one in your cell?
No, so they have. So the original area was individual cell blocks. Then, like the next phase of it was big wide open rooms, and they had like partitions that would come up about 6 feet, almost like a cubicle or whatever. And then there would be bunk beds in there. So that's what I was in. So yeah, so you had showers and then toilets on one side. So yeah, you're just sitting there.
Sitting on a metal toilet, just hanging out.
Like, God, this is awful.
With
Now-
no lid.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
the toilet. And then in county, of course, you've got a toilet there in your cell, and it's kind of a courtesy thing. Hey, I got a shit. You want to step out? But if it's the middle of the night when you're on lockdown, you're shitting. And your cell is
Single ply?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was pretty sweet.
How many fingers went through that on accident?
Yeah. On me or on them?
You want to help me wipe?
Hey, you got a minute?
Hey, I really sprained my wrist. Can you help me out over here?
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. Pretty disgusting.
There's not much you're hiding. You're shitting with people. You're jerking off with people.
There was a guy. He'd throw a towel over his shoulder as he's walking back to the shower, and he goes, "Just gonna let you know, I'm gonna be taking care of a little business. When I get out, make sure you don't step on my kids."
I mean, that was courteous
Fucking
of him.
drain,
was nice,
drain
yeah.
babies
Yeah.
everywhere.
Fuck.
That was nice of him.
Yeah.
A little heads up, never hurts.
Yeah. That's
Again,
why.
shower shoes.
Yeah. Sperm surfers.
That looked good. Write that one down
Tanner's
too.
got some good ones today. He's gonna be something someday.
Yeah.
One day.
This podcast has really opened me up
To,
to being awesome.
I thought we were talking about prison stuff still. Which he said he would not try to just go gay
No.
right away on the life in prison thing.
Well, again, it depends on how long you're there.
No, that's why I said the life in prison, no
No.
chance for parole.
Yeah.
Like you killed an entire family.
Let's roll.
Yep, that's what I said. That's what I said. I said, why wait? I'm gonna try to
Day
claim
one.
my
Fucking someone.
Yep. I'm gonna try to claim my victim and not be the victim.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Just hope you pick the right victim.
You know, when you go in though, are you kind of pressured to try to join, like you said, the Aryan Brotherhood or any of those guys? Like,
So
Well, was Minnesota, was there different levels of federal prison?
yeah, so I was in a low medium.
Yeah.
So in other words, we still had razor wire, we still had a guard tower, we still had controlled move.
But people don't want to leave there and go somewhere worse.
Yeah, correct. This
Yeah.
is when you're coming down. So
Yeah.
if you've been somewhere where you were in trouble or whatever, and you've got good behavior and you're in for a move, they'll move you down. So, guys, there was a guy there that was right. We say on the other side of the street, to the back side of where I was, and he was in for life. He had been in for 28 years when I got there, and he was coming up under the old rule. He was coming up for parole, and I was talking to him, and he said, "Yeah, I don't even want to go." I said,
but
"You don't go to
you
your
don't know
parole?"
what it's like anymore.
He said everybody that he hung out with is dead and gone. His family, most of them he was from Hawaii, big Samoan dude. He goes, "I don't want out." He goes, I wouldn't know what to do. What am I going to do for a job?
Right.
What am I going to do?" And so he's like, I don't even want to go to my parole hearing. So it's crazy, the line of thinking, the things that happen. But where I was at, it was predominantly Hispanics. There's a few black gangs there. there was just a couple of ABs that were there, so there wasn't really, you know, it wasn't really anybody looking. Plus, they knew I was only there for a short period of time.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking to get involved in any of that. But you definitely kind of you stay with your own group. It's very segregated for sure.
Yeah, the life in prison guys I've heard. In my younger days, I used to travel around and work on copiers. We used to go down to the state pen in Clarinda, Iowa, and some of those guys were there forever. And the guard said a lot of those guys are like they kind of keep the peace there because it's like they look at it their house, like, don't mess my house up, like, don't be a fucking idiot in here.
Yeah. So, and to that point, so the weight pile, there's not a lot of the places have had the weights taken out of them because people are smashing people in the head with weights or whatever. So where I was at, that was one of the first things, because you had to get into a group. It's not like you could just go out there and start working out. They had certain groups, and if you could get in, they called it a car. You can get into somebody's car to lift with them, great. If not, you're not just going to walk on the weight pile and work out. So eventually I got in with this car, and like one of the first things they said to me, if you get in a fight, take it away from the weight pile. Don't, because if you fight here and we get our weights taken away,
You're fucked.
yeah.
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 So, I mean, they do. They have their own set of rules. It's their own little world, and
Yeah.
you know, it's crazy. But
Moral of the story is don't go.
don't go. That would be
That would be easier.
that would be my best suggestion there. Just don't go.
Very
But I
good.
didn't have an option.
I mean, kind of.
well, at the point that
At the point it happened, the
Yeah.
option was thin. So you got any parting words for anybody, Kelly?
No, I mean, the only thing I would say is, you know, this gym in particular, a lot of the guys here has played a huge part in me staying sober. So, you know, I've had a lot of great friendships. And I every year I say, I'm done. You know, I'm going to be 55 in February, and I'm going to do another meet next year. I don't know about May.
You'll
But,
do, May. Don't be a pussy.
but no, this gym has really been a big part of it. So I do appreciate that.
Good. So, basically, for anybody out there, like you said, that's got some struggles like that, you know, like you said, you know, take blame, you know, understand where you're at and find a group of people to get in with, whether that's AA or.
Yep. Well, and the big thing that they even talk about too is, you know, the working out thing. You know, it's not for everybody, but for me, they talk about the endorphins and stuff that are released during working out stuff is not unsimilar from what you get when you're using, and so I think that's a big part of it too. But it's healthy for you, you know, for the most part. When I'm not,
We're not tearing shit.
so, yeah,
They always say working out's like a double-edged sword. They always say for health and betterment, but then you're also, you know. But I would say if I'm going to be in a wheelchair when I'm older, it's a way better story than I was just some fat fuck on a rascal at Walmart drinking.
That's a pretty good story, though.
But well, thanks for coming on and telling your story, Kelly. It's,
thanks for
Appreciate it,
having me.
man.
Appreciate
man,
it.
most of us have heard it. A lot of it or different parts of it.
Different, yeah. There's some
Some parts that you didn't tell. But
I think it could probably take up more than one podcast.
yeah, I would just say, and like I'm sure you agree that the risk to benefit ratio in the drug life is not.
Not really worth it.
A few minutes of fun can be a lifetime of hell.
Yeah, it's like kids.
Right.
Yeah, Matt and I know we're on the no kid train. Well, that's probably more like a few seconds of fun.
Yeah, I mean, if we're honest, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. You know, maybe listen back to this one if you're having some problems. And I mean, are you open to people reaching out to you if they're having
Absolutely.
problems? What's the easiest way to get a hold of you? You don't have to put your phone number out here. You don't have to do that, like Instagram or
What's your
something.
OnlyFans?
Yeah, my OnlyFans.
It's got a grinder bio.
Yeah. Go past the third picture of my asshole, then there's one right there.
It's Peter's 6140 Instagram.
Yeah. If you need somebody to talk to, I know I know some people that Kelly's helped out or,
Yeah,
Yeah.
be happy to help anybody, or at least attempt to.
so. Yeah. If you're having some issues, reach out to that or, whatever you need to do and find a community to help you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys listening and we'll see you guys next time.